Good evening. This is Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Welcome to the Nightside. I'm coming here to bring you an Aries full moon tarot reading. So I'd like to start by grounding into the Aries new moon earlier this year, March 21st, 2023. This full year cycle of Aries themes moving through the moon. This one's pretty intense for me. I am an Aries moon myself, so I bring a lot of that independence and seeking for my purpose and connecting to my personal fire through my dark side, through the side of the moon, through the subconscious, through the spirit, through spiritual practices. I'm always trying to tune into my personal fire when it comes to dark moments and say, how can this guide me through? So we're grounding back into earlier this year, the new moon in Aries, March 21st, 2023, thinking about this year and how Aries themes have been developing throughout the year. Aries, the ram, personal fire. How do I stand from my center and burn bright? Where am I going? One of the things I believe in. One of the things that I can accomplish, my powers. And those themes have been developing since March 21st, 2023. Earlier this year, at the new moon, it was the beginning of this Aries cycle, so perhaps we were feeling the dark side, or perhaps the emptiness, the undeveloped aspect of those themes. And now we've come around to the full moon. It's nice to see you here. We're halfway through this Aries cycle. Just feeling this energy grow and become full, like the moon, turning its face toward us, reflecting the light of the sun. And now these Aries themes are burning bright. They're easy to see. They are explicit. They're out in the open. So we're taking a look at the themes in our lives in terms of our independence, our path forward, our power, how we stand strong from our center, how we connect to our personal fire. How have those themes been developing this past year, this half year, this new moon to full moon cycle? We're going to see it reach a peak with this full moon and then die away back to the new moon next March. So we're reaching the top of a wave. It can be kind of intense, feeling your personal fire this way. But here in Libra season, where we're feeling the need for striking balance and the changing of seasons and the days being equal, some of this Aries new moon energy can really help us to really learn that lesson of balance by finding our own place in the balance, by connecting with our personal fire. So that being said, I'm going to open the tarot deck and see what cards are going to show up for us for this Aries full moon. You may notice on the left side here, I have two cards out that have been sitting on my altar and guiding me. One is from the Wild Unknown Archetypes Oracle deck, and another is from the Super Attractor Affirmations Oracle deck. The circular card is from the Wild Unknown Archetypes Oracle deck. I really love that deck. This archetype has come out and sat with me for a little while. The flame feels really appropriate for this moment, connecting into our own personal fire. This archetype exists inside of us. It's a little internal flame, something that's always burning regardless of circumstance, regardless of opportunity, regardless of conditions. Aries, we often think of that as really bright energy, really forward, really aggressive, but perhaps sometimes it is about tending to the smaller internal flame, making sure that doesn't go out. To what are we dedicated? I've also got this card here that says, my greatest spiritual shifts don't come through force, they come through freedom. We might not think of that for Aries themes. We might think of that maybe through something a little bit more liberating, something more flowy, like Pisces or Aquarius. But saying that my greatest spiritual shifts don't come through force, they come through freedom, I think for me that calls to the freedom of our own personal fire. Connecting to our personal fire, letting Aries be strong within us. that is a way to find some freedom, to burn past some obstacles, to say, you know what, those conditions and containers that are holding me back, I'm not going to listen to those. I'm going to ground into my personal fire and see where my purpose leads me. I'm going to listen to my spirit. I'm going to let my fire burn in my own way. Perhaps it's something new, something you've never seen before. If that's the case, lucky you, you get to witness my personal fire. As an Aries moon, that's kind of how I feel whenever my fire appears in a new situation. I'm kind of sick of wondering if I'm too much. I'm kind of sick of wondering if it's appropriate for the situation. If I feel it, I'm going to let it out. I'm just going to let my joy shine. I'm going to speak my anger. I'm going to let my sadness be there. All of that really fiery, entering into the space kind of energy. I really want to connect with my right to take up space. And that doesn't have to come at the expense of anybody else, but connecting with my personal fire really feels like a good way to dedicate to my path forward, my own growth, my purpose. So we've got our deck shuffled. Let's pull out 3 cards for our Aries full moon. I'm taking a deep breath in, sending that breath to my personal fire, letting that candle, that flame inside grow just a little bit. Just for a moment before flipping these cards over and connecting to whatever comes through. So first we have the World. This is a major arcana popping up here in the center, a really strong position in our reading. The World has a lot to say to us about completeness, about being connected to the earth element, being connected to our planet, our mother. Mother Gaia, Mother Earth. I've been sitting with her a lot this year, really connecting in with how can I feel myself as a child of the earth? How can I feel myself as having a place in all of this chaos? Especially here in Libra season, I'm asking the question, how do I find balance between opposites? How do I move with the changing of the seasons? So the World is appearing here to not only give an affirmation of wholeness and rightness. You are a child of the world. You are a part of it all, of this flow that never ends. But perhaps there's endings of cycles, things coming to a close, things ending the way that they should, even if it doesn't seem that way. Let's ground down into how things are ending in unexpected ways that just seem right, and how the end part of a story gives a lot of context to the beginning. So next we've got the 4 of Wands. This is a fire energy coming in for our Aries full moon. So this is a really powerful pull here. 4 of Wands, sometimes seen as a wedding, sometimes a celebration, sometimes just a palace. Either way, it's a beautiful stop along the way. In our journey of connecting with the wands, our personal fire, our personal creativity, our personal power, our personal magic, we have come to a really beautiful spot, something that deserves to be celebrated, something that deserves to be looked at. I mean, look at this. It's just a beautiful place. Sometimes we think of these beautiful stops along the path as an end to something we've been working on, as some kind of destination, but really they're beginnings. So this is a reminder not to forget to celebrate as we go along the way, not to wait until we get to a destination to be taking in the beauty. We are on the path towards cultivating our personal fire, but in connecting to our own magic, the way that we affect the world around us. So let's celebrate that as we go along and notice the beauty of the natural world, and notice the beauty of ourselves, where we are on that path, how we make a part of the story. We've also got the 10 of Swords. This is the death of an old self. People really like to avoid this moment, but I say, bring it on. Let's bring on that next cycle. Yeah, at what point do we finally allow all the swords to fall? Swords come in the element of air. Air, like fire, is active, but it's not in the physical realm. Where fire appears in the physical realm, fire makes things change. Air is something that's mental, spiritual, sometimes hard to pin down. Talks about spiritual transformations and the way that we move through those transformations. So the 10 is a completion energy. This is when we come to the end of the suit. This is when we learn the lesson that the swords are trying to teach us. Here we are not only experiencing the death of an old self, but we're accepting it. We're accepting that something has ended, and that's going to come with a lot of grief, a lot of pain, a lot of integration, a lot of feelings in the body. But it is coming from the spiritual realm, from the mental realm, from the mind. Don't worry, these swords are helping us to cut through the illusions, to see what is for us and what's not. And the Ten of Swords signals to the end of a cycle, which does call back to what the world was saying earlier, that although we are part of the harmonious whole, there is kind of a completion of a cycle. There's some stories ending here. As we reach the height of the Aries full moon, we might feel our individual nature, our personal power surging forward, our ability to say, this is what's right for me. This is where I need to go. This is my purpose. We may feel really connected into that in terms of feeling this Libra energy of looking for balance. We may say, this is where my place is in this great whole. I am a child of Earth, but I am this child of Earth. But that will come with having to let some old parts of ourselves go. Letting old versions of ourselves die away. Remember to shed that skin. We think of shedding skin as a natural process when snakes do it, but they could just as easily get stuck in an old skin as we can get stuck in a bad situation. So make sure to allow those swords to enter in and to really sit with that grief, that pain. Let it come into the body, let it process through. But remember, we're on a journey. We're developing through. We're only 4 out of 10 on the path of wands. That's our personal fire. Wands come in the suit of fire. So in the journey to connect with that inner flame, to let freedom come through by connecting with our own personal path and our fire, we're still on the journey. Remember to celebrate as we go along. Remember to enjoy the path, to enjoy our part on the path, and to not look at beautiful things in the future as destinations, but just stops along the way. You never really know what's going to happen, especially when we're going to need to let go of old versions of ourselves, and sometimes that puts us on a new path. So this is a call to reevaluate. Am I still following the same paths that I thought I was going to follow at the beginning of this Aries cycle? March 21st, 2023 was the new moon in Aries, and at that point we may have thought, okay, I've got a lot ahead of me. I'm going to start on some new projects. I'm going to connect with myself this year, or I'm going to clear the air on some things. I'm going to figure some things out that I don't know how to answer yet. Now that we're halfway through this Aries cycle, how have those themes developed? Do we still feel a connection to the projects that we set in place back in March or earlier this year? If you feel an old version of yourself dying, don't worry about it. Just enjoy the path, enjoy moving along, and make sure to celebrate the small wins, because there is a message of wholeness. There is a message of being where you are at the right time, at the right place, and that some cycles are ending. But we've got our Mother Earth here to guide us through and to remind us that we are connected to the whole. We are all related. We are all one family. Thank you so much for opening to what the cards have to say to you. If this resonated with you, I invite you to maybe take your own copy of your tarot deck and pull these cards out. Put them on your altar, or put them on your dresser, or even set them as a wallpaper on your phone, or use them as a bookmark, somewhere where you can see with and be with the tarot cards. I really love to see the tarot cards come to life. I think that they shouldn't be static. They shouldn't be breathless. They should really speak. They should really live. So when we spend some time with them, when we familiarize ourselves with them, when we figure out, who am I in this situation? Why am I in this situation? How do I feel this energy in my own body? Take some deep breaths, ask yourself these questions, journal about it a little bit. We can see that these are all just pages in the book of life, and it's a beautiful, beautiful book to read. Thank you so much for coming to read with me. I am Blackbird, singing in the dead of night, and this has been your Aries full moon tarot reading. Thank you for joining me in the Nightside. Have a good night and sweet dreams.